So I hope you all got a little bit of sleep last night. I hope at least one of you had an interesting enough conversation at the bonfire that you're still thinking about it. Before we kick things off, I do just want to say something. That every person in this room and on this screen chose to be here. Everyone sacrificed something to be here. In a moment in history when it might be easier to put your head down and tell yourself that these questions we're asking here are for somebody else, you said that you're willing to step up and show up. Despite overflowing schedules, having labs to run, companies to manage, families waiting for you, you decided that 4 days of your year could be dedicated to stewardship of the world you want to create. Having one-on-one conversations with you this year has truly been an antidote to the news cycle. If you read the news enough, you can easily believe a story that humanity is becoming increasingly fractured, increasingly cynical, more short-sighted. But I witnessed in those conversations something very different. I talked to people thinking deeply about the long-term consequences of what they're building, and thinking carefully about the world they want to create for people they may never meet. And that does give me hope that the best of humanity is not disappearing. It is very much alive, and a good solid chunk of it is here in this room. Okay, 3 minutes of level setting. Bear with me. You know BrainMind, you know our mission, why we do what we do. What we do is we're an introduction engine. What we excel at is putting the right people in a room together at the right time. And when we do that, a sort of alchemy happens. Funding flows, companies are formed, and scientific insights move closer to patients. So when we measure our impact, we look at for every dollar we spend bringing people together, and we see 100 times that flows into companies and into research projects, and that ratio is why we exist. But the moment that we're convening around right now is extraordinary. And the people in this room know AI and neuroscience are converging in ways that would have sounded like science fiction 10 years ago. There are people in this room mapping the brain down to individual neurons firing in freely moving organisms, and some people measuring down to the molecule. There are people developing technologies that can read thoughts. There are people developing technologies to write prosthetic memories, and at least one of you in this room is developing ways to reshape the content of our dreams. And Adam, wherever you are, I'd like to request better plot lines, please. There are also people in this room who have had their lives saved by neurotechnology. And still many others, some in this room and many beyond it, who are waiting for options where there are none today, for therapies that don't yet exist. And the decisions that we make here can help shape what becomes available to them. So why have this conversation here at Asilomar? Because in 1975, something happened in this very room that is truly worthy of inspiration. A small group of scientists were faced with an incredibly powerful technology, moving incredibly swiftly, that they weren't sure how to respond to, and instead of continuing on and waiting for problems to emerge, they got together, they stopped what they were doing, they put their pencils down, they had an honest conversation about the hazards and the promise. And what came out of that meeting wasn't just a set of technical guidelines, it was a culture. And it was so strong that even to this day, if a line gets crossed in genetics, the entire field responds. So that's what social norms actually look like when they work. So we asked the question, can neuroscience have a moment like that? Can we do that for neurotech? And we started, luckily, by asking some experts, some of them here, like Karen Rommelfanger and Steve Hyman, and Wendell Wallach and Phil Rubin, and Helen Mayberg. And they showed us that actually quite a lot of groundwork had already been done. We didn't need to create a charter from scratch. There were 20 charters already written. The principles in them are actually remarkably consistent. They say to protect human agency, safeguard mental privacy, prevent misuse of the technology. They say to promote equity. So the principles are not the problem. Those are well understood. The problem is that when we got people together to talk about this in an industry context, the academics in the room who had written these guidelines told us they had never spoken to a person who had shipped a product. The founders had not read the guidelines. And even once they had, kudos to them, there wasn't a clear way to implement them. Protecting privacy sounds great. How do you actually do it while you're building your product? How do you do it while you're making investment decisions? How does that build into the decisions that go into your everyday life? That gap between principles and practice is what this meeting is designed to close. And as I said last night, it is going to be a working meeting. We're going to have 7 workshops over the course of the next 2 days. Top row, that's today. Next row down, that's tomorrow. What they're going to be building in these workshops with you is not another set of frameworks, not another white paper. These are going to be actionable, practical decision-making tools that you can take to the office with you, to your board meetings, to your product design meetings, to your partnership discussions. And this has never been attempted before, never been done before. We're here to do it. In every era of true scientific possibility, there comes a moment where you have to decide. Do you wait for problems to emerge, or you define a better path? Responsible innovation can't live in documents. It has to live in decisions. And I am so grateful beyond words that you have shown up here today to start laying the first stones of a better path.